Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. For premium picks, DwyerVIP.com. On Roku, Dwyer Boxing News. Public channel, you can go to Roku.com. Just type in Dwyer in the channel section, it'll pull right up. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Wladimir Klitschko is actually defending his title against Francesco Pianeta. Right? This is a big fight. I know the world is focused on Floyd Mayweather. Understand the Mayweather fight and the Ponce de Leon fight are not the only fights happening this weekend, right? Let's talk about this one. Pianeta is a southpaw. You know that I feel that Wladimir Klitschko has an issue with the angles when he fights a skilled southpaw like Tony Thompson, right? But here, I don't believe Wladimir Klitschko is going to have much of a problem. Even though Pianeta is unbeaten, in my opinion, he's really a mid-range hooker. In other words, he's not setting up the angles like Tony Thompson. He's not hard to hit by an orthodox fighter shooting a jab because rather than fight out of a southpaw stance and exploit the angles, I believe Pianeta gives up the angles by throwing hooks and combinations and staying too much in the pocket. I believe he's too obvious. I also believe he lacks power, right? 4 of his last 5 fights have gone the distance. So what I believe you're going to have here is an unbeaten but overrated fighter standing right in front of Wladimir Klitschko, trying to throw combination punches, right? Not using a lot of length. In other words, exactly the kind of opponent that Wladimir Klitschko likes to tee off on. A few more thoughts about Pianeta. Pianeta doesn't work his way in behind a jab, right? That's terrible against Wladimir Klitschko. Because if you're trying to just get inside without a jab, and you don't have a lot of bob and weave to your game, in other words, no one's going to confuse you with Joe Frazier or Mike Tyson, right? Then what you are is a guy who literally is going to be walking into Wladimir Klitschko power shots. The other problem too is Pianeta is front foot heavy. In other words, he's not moving a lot around the ring, right? His weight is really on his front foot. I believe that makes him easier to find by the heavyweight champion, right? Also, let me say this. When the other guy gets busy against Pianeta, in my opinion, Pianeta freezes, right? He's not James Toney. He's not welcoming the exchange because by the other guy throwing punches, it's creating counterpunch opportunities for him. Now, I believe he's the kind of guy who, when the bullets start flying, he just waits for the storm to pass. He has a rabbit ear defense, and he just stands there, right? It starts to rain. He just kind of, stands there, waits for the cloud to pass over him. You can't do that with Wladimir Klitschko. When it starts raining, it starts pouring. If Wladimir Klitschko reaches the conclusion that he can land that sledgehammer right hand on you, right? That straight right. Or that you're just going to sit there while he, throws that lead left hook, you're in for a long afternoon. Let me also say this too. The quality of opposition for Pianeta is lacking. He's one of these unbeaten guys who really hasn't fought, the David Hayes, the Tyson Furies, even the Steve Cunninghams of the world to earn this shot at the title, right? He's relatively untested. But even against the limited competition that he's faced, on YouTube here, you'll notice that in the first round against journeyman Mike Marone, Pianeta, in my opinion, was getting bullied, right? In other words, he's a guy who, even against limited competition, looks like he can get roughed up, right? And one of the reasons is because, again, he's obvious. He's not hiding behind a jab. He's not using length and distance. He's not going to be confused with Wladimir Klitschko or Vitaly Klitschko. He's easy to find. So even journeymen can just bum rush him. And of course, what does he do in response? He's not, deftly using it as an opportunity to land counters. Rather, he's just clamming up. Let me also say, too, that in my opinion, he doesn't have the kind of balance to play Matador, right? He's not a guy who, you rush at him, he pivots, right? And then uses your forward progress against you, right? Has you kind of run by him, and then he turns around and quickly gets you up on the ropes. Uses your aggression against you, right? He's not, David Haye, for example, right? He doesn't, in my opinion, move that well, right? Also, I don't believe he's the kind of guy who sets traps for you. He's not Juan Manuel Marquez where, you leap in, Juan Manuel has that right counter already cocked. That's not this guy, right? This guy's not going to be confused with Marquez or James Toney anytime soon. So what I expect is Wladimir Klitschko to actually be the busier fighter. Because understand, that's what a good jab that you're able to pump allows you to do. Right? During the slow moments, you're throwing the jab. I'm expecting Wladimir Klitschko to keep Pianeta outside. As I said before, it takes a lot to get inside if you don't jab your way in. Right? You've really got to bounce. You've really got to move. I just don't see that in Pianeta's game. So I'm expecting Wladimir Klitschko to overwhelm this opponent. I know I'm sounding hard. Don't get me wrong. Pianeta is a world-class fighter. But we're here on YouTube, and we have to call it as we see it, especially if we're talking about possibly betting on the fight. To the gamblers, let me close by saying this. I think this fight is properly priced. I don't see the profit in it. I don't like the idea of betting on, let's say, the champ to win by knockout, and then finding out that I'm only getting 1-7 odds, right? That's just not enough of a risk reward for me. You're not even getting even money by taking Wladimir Klitschko to win by knockout, right? You're simply not. Let me also say, too, taking Wladimir Klitschko to win. I know there's a crowd that says, I don't want to hedge any bet. Fair enough. It's not worth my time taking Wladimir Klitschko to win if I'm going to get 1-40 odds, right? Let's do the math. That's less than a 3% return. Give me a break, right? There are too many prop bets out there on boxing matches for me to just go chase 3% in a high-risk venture like boxing. Let me also say this too, and I don't say it lightly. We've seen many fights where many favored fighters got a bit full of themselves. Tyson Fury against Steve Cunningham, and actually got decked in a fight, right? Fighter has his hands down, is clowning, and then suddenly finds out that he's actually part of the circus, right? Well, to me, boxing is risky. So even though I strongly believe Wladimir Klitschko is going to win this fight, I just don't feel comfortable betting on any fighter if the return I'm going to get is only 3%. That's not worth my time. My recommendation to the gamblers is to stay on the sidelines for this one. For the boxing fans, I expect Wladimir Klitschko to still be heavyweight champion of the world at the end of this fight. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.